2 claps this time.
You.
Oh, man,
You
sorry.
get 1.
I'm John.
I'm Daddy.
God.
Got it.
I'm Kaelahn, and we are reviewing
North by...
Northwest. Suave. I want Suave to sue me for all $3 in my bank account.
Big shampoo's coming forward.
Watch out for big shampoo. Rollin'. That's the word.
How did that hand
Hi,
motion?
how is that clapping cheeks on a train?
As you do. Man gets kidnapped. Why?
All right.
It's 2 sentences, but I'll let it slide.
That could be like a...
It was a colon.
It was a cool one.
It was a full colon.
Northwest.
North by Northwest.
It's just a quiz
That's,
we'll do next
it's
week.
Alright.
Yes.
Okay.
Roger Thornhill. He's a Don Draper-esque man. Media boy trying to make his money. He's ordering people around. He goes to meet with some friends, and then these guys walk up, and they're like, "You better come with us." And he's like, "No." And they're like, "Gun." And he's like, "All right, fine." So they go to this like stately home. And they're in this room, and they're like, Mr. Kaplan, blah 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 blah. Like, you're a secret agent, and we caught you. And he's like, "I don't know what's going on. Stop doing this." And they're like, "We know you're George Kaplan."
And the entire time he's trying to prove his innocence and the fact that he's not this person that they say he is.
For real, like, this is not a game. You guys have the wrong person. I want to leave. And they're like, you can leave, but how about you have some bourbon first? So then they make him drink a full thing of bourbon.
About a fifth.
About a fifth.
About a fifth.
About a fifth. Flash cut. Cary Grant. Drunk. He's in a car, and they're like, hey, go ahead and drive. But Cary Grant done this before. He's a seasoned drunk driver. So it's like coded that way. He like wakes
Honestly,
up.
yeah. The way they handled drunk driving in this movie was like, he probably should have been in jail for longer.
He like wakes up, knocks the dude out of the car, and he's like, whoa, ah, and like sliding around and all this shit. Like he stops because the cops are behind him. They run into him. So then the assassins are like, I guess we can't kill him now. It's like, you gotta understand, like, I was trying to be killed. I didn't actually like drunk drive. They like were trying to kill me with alcohol. So I did this thing. They're like, okay, well, prove it. So they take him to the home, and then this woman's like, oh, Roger, you were so drunk last night. We were so worried about you, but we let you get in the car anyway. Silly us. So then like the justice system doesn't believe him, and they're gonna lock him up. But instead of locking him up, he pays like $2 fine.
I've never seen white privilege flip like that.
Okay, so
He's on the train.
He's like, I need to get out of town. Goes to Grand Central. Little crafty move where he gets on a train. There's this beautiful woman, Ava St. Marie, and she's like, ooh, come sit with me. And he sits with her, and she's like, I want you to me.
Well, there was a lot more.
Before you do that, cops are getting on the train, so maybe go hide. So they go hide. The cops are like, hey, have you seen this guy? And she's like, no, I haven't, but he's cute. Cops are like, all right, well, if you see him, we'll be in the caboose.
He's gonna be in the caboose.
And he's like, me too. And so then...
That's how he gets caught. Like, as he said that joke.
It was for lady grooming.
It's revealed that, like, she passes a note to the assassins who are in another car, another, like, train compartment. They end up having sex. They do, like, this rolly thing where they don't show them having sex, but the camera rolls around them, and it takes forever, and it's hilarious. Get off the train. He's dressed as Redcap, and then she's like, hey, Roger, go to this place at the bottom of Illinois. And he's like, okay, I will. And then he's just sitting on a dirt road, and he's like,
Just checking.
So he's like, that's what plains, dust and crops, where there are no crops. And then Roger Thornhill's like, okay, get on your bus, old man, leave. So he does, and then, surprise, that plane's actually an assassin plane that's, like, swooping down at him. And so eventually, he outwits the train.
Iconic scene.
Or train. It's not a flying train.
Almost gets hit by a plane, and then nearly escapes by the teeth of his skin.
By the ski. Figures out her hotel room, figures out that she's evil. He's like, hey, you're being evil. What's up with that?
What do you mean Evo was evil?
Interesting
Evil?
how that works.
Whoa.
He, like, goes up to her and just, like, completely disrespects her because it's the 60s, and he's a piece of shit, and toxic masculinity. I think that's the theme of this review.
And then so Roger's
I
like,
can't wait for your
he's
ass.
like, if I make a ruckus, there's nothing you can do about it. So he makes a ruckus. He gets arrested and he's like, bye-bye. And the cops get a special order to not bring him to jail. And they bring him to the CIA. And the CIA is like, hey, George Kaplan's a fake agent that was protecting our real agent, which is actually Ava. So she's not evil, but, like, you compromised her dogs. Like, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to let her die like a coward? Or are you going to do something about it?
They
So
were
he's like-
literally ready to let him die, not 30 minutes before this. But
So
it's
he's
fine.
like, I guess I'm going to do something about it.
Then eventually they end up running away together because he feels guilty because he exposed her cover because she was a secret agent the whole time.
Figures out that the guys know that she's an agent. They're going to kill her. So he's like, yo, matchbox to the ground. She reads it. He's like, run away with me. They run away to Mount Rushmore.
And then they end up on Mount Rushmore. God damn, am I drunk? But they end up on Mount Rushmore and then he has to pull her up.
He's like, she's like falling, and he's like, pull up, and he like, pull up, and it cuts to them in a train, and he pulls her up into the bedroom, and then it cuts to train going into a train tunnel, and then the movie ends.
Why'd you do this? Train.
Operation Bad Habit. My favorite nun jokes of all time. Great.
You have a favorite nun joke?
Mine is honestly like the scene like when they're like meeting on the train. That whole scene of like sensuality between the two of them when they're first meeting on the train and they're kind of like gearing up to sleep together. It's just like it's so like I don't know. It's hot. Like Jesus.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just that wordplay and like the amount that like they played around with each other in that scene. Like I don't understand like the like I don't know if they had like great on screen chemistry, but like it turned me on and like they weren't even doing anything. This is the 60s. The things that they're saying to each other and everything like it's honestly like cinematic foreplay. I'll say that Roger Thornhill has big dick energy, but Cary Grant. So I'm not feeling it. I'm sorry.
Oh, totally. It's the scene where he goes to like the crossroads, and so there's like no one there, and then like cars keep coming by, and it's just dead silent. It's the only part of the film that has no like music or talking. He's just sitting there waiting. Mm-hmm. But in this scene, there's just 4 parties present because there's nothing there. There's just Roger Thornhill, the assassins, Hitchcock, and you. And so this is a really good example of Hitchcock taking charge of what's going on and telling you that, like, I am God, I am looking at what's going on, and I'm showing it to you. Right? So, like, if you go to Rear Window where he's, like, in the piano player's room and he's, like, twisting the clock because he's the master of time. He controls what's going on. Mm-hmm. This is his version of that in this film is, like, it's just, like, you forward, he's controlling all of the action, he can do whatever he wants, and he is God, and it's his view.
You think Gary Cooper was a bottom?
But I mean, that's what he does, though, is he takes these men who are, like, rom-com kind of, like, softies, but, like, very suave, very, like, about love, and puts them in, like, life or death, shitty situations where they're often pushed to, like, do things that you, like, wouldn't normally do.
Exactly. And then it also, like, and maybe this was an intentional thing, like, of men, like, treating women poorly in, like, a lot of his films. Like, maybe it's like he's showing the fact that those men, like those suave men, but at the same time, it's just kind of his own issues kind of coming to light. Wow.
It sounds some like nice guy bullshit.
I think this is like the most appropriate modern equivalent is like apply that to the concept of like how racism is depicted on TV. Like think about movies that are made by white guys that are like, yo, I'm down. Where it's like I'm trying to like show you that I'm like with it, but in doing that I'm like
diminishing what you've gone through. Yeah,
Diminishing
100%. Yeah. The conversation he's starting is just like him also trying to like up himself a little bit because like, he thinks that he deserves or he has the right to those like women or to like, you know, have that affection or whatever, whereas these men who don't treat them correctly or whatever don't. Where it's just like if you're the person who's treating women like that, okay, yeah, you don't. But if you think that you deserve it because that person doesn't treat them the way that you see fit.
And then all of a sudden, as soon as he gets crossed, instead of being like, you know, you hurt me, he's like, you're a slut.
Right.
He
immediately goes on the defensive and it's just like he attacks this person who like low-key helped him out, but like did. Also double-crossed him, but at the same time it's just like you're showing your true colors in that moment.
Here's the thing that I think of though, right, is like he's not mad at the CIA director.
Who's a man.
who's a man, and
Right.
who was like, oh, we were gonna kill you.
Right, yeah, we were just gonna let you die, but, you know, this person who, like, he was actually attached to, there's, like, a whole conversation about, like, he was attached to her physically and, like, emotionally, but, like, this other person, he wasn't. But then at the same time, you have to have the conversation about, like, she was a woman, and he was so quick to dismiss her, and this other person was a man, and he was just like, oh, well, I mean, I can understand that exclusively.
To jump on this, though, right? Like, we're going through an interesting path of, like, men blaming, like, the products of the system rather than the system itself.
I don't even know what question we were on, but...
Earlier in the film, something happens where he's like,
I get it, man.
he's like, oh, he's like, I'm feeling fat, so I need to think thin. And then from that point on, he never eats in the film.
Oh, wow, I didn't even notice that.
So, but no, I think that Eva St. Marie's performance stands test of time, and, like, her acting style is classic. Like, you could drop that into a performance today and it still holds up, whereas Cary Grant's kind of doesn't. It's, like, too bombastic and forward. And so I think she really was great.
The mom. Fucking great.
Oh, yeah. She's like...
Right on point. Just judgmental, annoying, and the worst. So, yeah, I'll give it to the mom. Honestly, small role, but she stole the show.
Pitch this film to someone who has never seen it and doesn't appreciate Alfred Hitchcock.
So basically this film, I'd say Mad Men meets James Bond. Like, a man is mistaken for a James Bond type who doesn't actually exist, and then he has to, one, prove his innocence, but also get himself out of, like, a sticky situation with some nefarious characters.
John Hamm as Don Draper is kind of this everyday man who, like, ends up in an extraordinary situation in which he has to use his wits and, like, situational irony to get out of it alive and fall in love at the same time.
Time's up. Okay, so...
In terms of Hitchcock movies, I would say for me it goes Vertigo,
Same.
Rear Window, and then this one.
Vertigo,
Change
North
it.
by Northwest.
Preston, let's go! 8 presidents out of 10. The Rough Riders!
Stop! Drop! Pick him up, open up. No. 7.5.
Weird.
To the beauty of Eva St. Marie.
Okay,
Shut the Preston.
Thank you!
My name is John Grozny. It's not actually, but my name's John Grozny. If you want to see more of me, click right here in the box.
And I am Kaelahn Taylor, and if you want to see more of Grozny, you can go right here.
Like and subscribe to this channel. If you
I
don't,
came up with that.
I'll murder Preston.
Wait, whoa.
I mean...
Unknown to John, my mother does love me.